Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial Deborah Muller Children of the Woods. So I have a couple of things to say here. It is to my great sadness that so I started doing all 15 of these sort of launch tutorials for when I launched this Patreon. I started doing them probably back in August. This was like the second one that I did. Since then, and they were all stored on my phone. Some I had uploaded, some I hadn't, and they were like in 2 to 3 parts, tons of videos. I think it was end of September, I had to upgrade to my new iPhone, and not everything transferred over. So unfortunately, the first little section of this tutorial vanished. I have spent like hours looking for it in my trash, trying to recover it, trying to look everywhere. It's just nowhere. So the tutorial is going to start off a little bit into it, but I'm going to kind of tell you what I did, and hopefully you can wing that part and get forward. Sadly, the same thing happened with my Million Magical Creatures, little witch girl. I haven't figured out what I can do about that one yet. I'm just so furious about the whole thing. I'm not even over it. Like, it just makes me mad talking about it. I should have backed everything up, and I live and learn. But anyway, so we're going to be working on Children of the Woods, and we'll be doing multiple pictures in this book, in this group, because it's one that's kind of non-holiday and neutral and has lots of earth tones, and you can kind of do it all year round. So this is the one we're doing here. This is the swatch for it. Just so you know, I'm recording this video now here in November, right before I post this video, but it was done back in August, so I'm going to insert this at the beginning of the video. So this was all done on Prismacolor pencils. This is the swatch. You'll find a JPEG, 2 pages of JPEG of a picture of this attached. You can open it, pull all your colors. So the part where you'll see the video launches, I had done this flower part and the leaves. Not all of this, I think, up here, and her sleeves. I don't even know if I'd done the orange part, but definitely the green parts. I don't even remember what else, but I'm going to show you kind of really quick how I did those leaves. You can pull those colors. So for example, we have the big leaves: jasmine, pumpkin, orange, crimson, red. That's these 3 leaves. You just need the 3 colors, and you're going to need the blender stick, the colorless blender, or the Prismacolor one, which to get that full effect. The sleeves here, fortunately, the sweater part was in the next section, so I'm not going to show you how I did the sleeves. When you go to do this center part, that's exactly what I did on the sleeve. So for example, for the sweater sleeves, we had chartreuse and apple green and white. So I just started on each of the outsides, going top to bottom with the darker green, just going in like a fourth of the way. Then I started blending the lighter green, and then I left this stripe right down the middle where I stopped on each side, and then I just put in the white pencil and blended it. And you'll see I do that same thing here. So once you do this part, you can go back and use those colors on the swatch and do that here, and hopefully you'll get a similar glow effect. So I feel so bad about that, but I didn't want the rest of this tutorial to go to waste. And it's such a beautiful fall color tutorial, and I loved her ombre hair. So I'm going to show you real quick how to do that effect I do on the leaves in this other book I have of Deborah Muller's, The Witches, Cats, and Coffee. I saw some leaves in here. So here's one I started. Oh, that's not the right kind of leaves. That was a couple of years, like 2 years ago, whenever this book came out. Let's just do one of these leaves here real quick. So I'm going to pull a couple colors. These are not the exact same colors. So you'll see we're going to launch the tutorial in a minute, but I'm just showing you how I did my leaves. If you really want to know kind of the little technique that I did. So we're going to do this one right here. And so, for example, here I have 3 colors. In this case, I took 4, same concept. And I always start with the darkest to lightest. So you would always start with a red, then an orange. Then I gradually fade into like a paler orange, then to a yellow. So you would kind of do them in order here, the same order you do darkest to lightest. But in this case, what I do is I'm going to take the red, and I'm just going to kind of lightly, and I'm just kind of quickly, just kind of color in. Like, there's so many different ways you can do this. I kind of did it in a nonsensical pattern. I go around the top like this, maybe just a little. And I might put like a little squiggle here and a little squiggle there. Maybe a little bit on that vein. And we can go back up and darken it after, just to get it in kind of like no particular order. And I just do it kind of a little darker right at the tip. And then if I go into my orange, I kind of do the same thing. So I blend over where I stopped that red, over it, and then I bring it a little into its own white space. And I just kind of go over and blend that into the red wherever I did that red. But I also like to fill a little more of my own white space with it. Just squiggle in some orange. This one's not very sharp. I'm not having a great week with supplies. My pencil sharpener of several years finally conked, my favorite one. So I'm waiting for my other one to show up. So you see I got some of that orange in, but still leave some white space, room for blending. Then I'll take the third lightest color. This is Sunburst Yellow. It's kind of a half orange, half yellow. And then same thing, I just kind of start to blend in where the other color stopped. Maybe a little bit of its own white space. I might overlap a little that orange or that red. Just start kind of working that color a little. Still leave a little white space. Might get into the tips. And then I'm going to take the yellow. And in this video, we only have 3 colors. I skipped the third color. So you can straight up, you can even add this Sunburst, would look good if you wanted, right between the two. And then go down to the Jasmine. But anyway, so now I would just kind of start blending into the white areas and into the other oranges. The lightest color kind of works as like a blender. Just sort of, a little bit. And I start getting that in. So you see some of that yellow, just kind of squiggling that everywhere. And then I'm going to go back, and you still see some white specks. I'm going to go back to the first color, the red, and darken it up around the border. Kind of. And this is just a quick version of what I was showing in the video, unfortunately, but I just can't let that video go. So I'm going to re-squiggle in some stuff here. I'm going to make sure I darken it around the edge. Get the orange again. Same thing. We're just kind of building the color a little bit. Just kind of to blend that along. And then I might get my Sunburst. I might get that wherever I see any white areas left, I might hit with the Sunburst. And then one final time, I'm going to do the yellow. And the reason we're just kind of completely doing it in a non-specific manner, and each one that means everyone won't look uniform. They'll all look different, because in nature, every leaf's going to look a little different, right? So we're taking in this color and we're really yellowing it up. So then what I would do, we're going to take our colorless blender in 1 second here. Just want to get that little white area with the red I missed. So which one do I have on me? I have my Prismacolor blender. Make sure there's no darker color like a black or purple you pick off with your nail. What I would do is I'm going to start in the yellow areas, and I'm just going to squiggle and start blending. You have to use a pretty good pressure. I mean, the harder the better, although it's not necessarily required. And we're just going to start blending. Pick a little off if it feels clunky. You can then work over to the darker areas around the sides. And then what this does is it makes it look more fluffy and kind of natural. It pushes the remaining lead or color, let's say, into the tooth of the paper. It's going to darken it because you're pulling more of that red over the yellow. But now what you see is like speckles and splotches and like this multi-tone of colors where it looks unnatural. And like in nature, it's, every leaf is going to be unique and different. So, and in some of the leaves, let's say, and you could even leave out the red, do what I just did, start with the orange. So each one would look a little different. Or you could only do these two, maybe even these two with the jasmine one, even lighter. I like to have at least 3 for a leaf, a dark, a medium, and a light. So that's really the basis of what I did for those leaves. Really pretty easy. You can see how fast I did that. And the same thing again with the sweater. I just kind of was doing it, you know, this way and I was closing it and like slowly closing in 2 walls and then stopping at that stripe in the middle. So I think that's all that was missed. I hope the sunflowers, it's the same concept. So you just need whatever colors I have for the sunflowers, the flowers, there's 3 colors. You just kind of do like the brown, the darker brown around the core a little ways, then blend in the next lightest and then the next lightest, all the way till you get to the tips for the lightest, and then I blend light to dark, so you don't pull the dark all the way down over the yellow. So hopefully you guys can wing it for those parts. I feel so bad about this, and it's a bummer, but I'm going to release the rest of these tutorials. I want to take a quick look at something. I guess I was wrong. I had to go back and check the 3 other parts I have that I meshed together. I also had started her skin tone. Darn it. Oh, what a nightmare. Well, I'm going to just show the rest of what I did. I'm going to post the rest of the whole tutorial, and you can maybe wing the rest. For her skin, oh, that makes me so mad. I spent like probably 6 hours on this thing. What a tragedy. So for her skin, we had beige, nectar, peach, 3 colors. The nectar is the darkest. What I did is I used the nectar. I just kind of was doing lightly around the frame of her face, up and down the nose, as you can see, for some definition. A little bit here, the neck and down, and then bring it out just a little. And then I would go into the peach. I would blend in the peach into that one and start bringing it toward the center, blend around each nose line. And then the lightest color, the beige, is all these areas like the middle of the nose, here, all the open areas. So yeah, and the lizard, one of the lizards, his colors were on there, but fortunately it's really easy. We have his spots were sienna brown and umber. There's 2 little browns that you blend, and real easy. You don't need really my help with that. And then the body was the marine green and the chartreuse. So I did some dark around the edges and blended, just like I did with that leaf. Like I squiggled in some of the dark, left a lot of white space, and I squiggled in that chartreuse. This is before I did the spots. And then I took this and I blended all that in, and then I did the spots. And I forgot I was going to come back with a pit pen, and if you see it looks a little blotchy, you can go right over your pencil and just embolden it a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and launch into the tutorial. So hopefully somebody finds still some use of this, so it wasn't all for nothing, but I thought she was real pretty. And I hope you guys enjoy, or at least learn something. Okay, so let's move on to her sweater. It's a nice day today, so I opened up the windows, but that does set up for hearing sometimes cars going by, which is kind of annoying. Sometimes a really loud truck. So the sweater body, we have light peach orange and sunburst yellow. And we're going to do the same method we did before. We'll start with the orange, where we're going to kind of box in, and I think we'll leave kind of the center of the sweater, kind of that whitish tint. So first thing I want to do is I want the whole collar here to be orange. So let's color in, oh, and there's a motorcycle. I knew that was going to happen the minute I opened the window. I have no idea why. It's not like we're on that busy of a street. Oh, and there he goes. Annoying. All right. I'll just get this nice and orange, nice solid color. Okay. So basically, let's start here under the arm. Let's do a little darker under the arm for a little bit of a wider area, obviously, because we have such a wide body here. We're going to be bringing this all the way down. Just want to get that first wide area in. We're also going to go along the shoulder. And then let's go right down here. Darkest the closer it gets to the stitches or the line of the sweater. I think we can almost get all of this area right here orange. Seem to be getting a runny nose today for whatever reason. Although, actually, that just started now that I opened the window, so that's probably some pollen or something going on out there. Okay, let's do a little darker and start medium pressure, lightening it as you get more toward this center. Nice steady strokes. So we're gonna probably have the yellow, yeah, just a little bit more, not much more. Right to the lizard's elbow, I think is satisfactory, including down here. Then we'll go straight down as well. All right. Hey, Leo. My cat's here to see me. What's up, buddy? Aw. Leo. He's a cute old guy. Big old 15-pounder big guy. All right, right in here. There you go. That's pretty straight. Don't tear up my sofa. He's trying to get attention. Let's do darker right here. Leo. He's sharpening his claws on my sofa. Nice. How old is he now? He's probably about 8 or 9. Actually, I've only had him a few years. I got him from my son. They got him when he was a baby, but they didn't want him when they got divorced. Neither of them wanted him, so he was an indoor cat, and they had 2 large golden retrievers, so I'm like, I'll take him. Poor little guy. He's so friendly. Been 2 years now I've had him. He's a real sweet little guy. He's the most daintiest little girl meow, too. It's really funny. All right. I'm going to go right in here in the dip of her hair. Hey, buddy, you're rubbing my leg now. I'm busy. I can't get you any food if that's why you're being nice to me. Okay. I'm going to go down. There we go. A little darker again on the sides. Go for it. Oh, I'm gonna have to let him out. He's trying to get out of this room. Hill, go on. Go. Go, go, go. Of course, I open the door and he just stands there. What are you? Yeah, cats are so clever at getting your attention. Okay, I think that's. Is that even? Might need a little more orange over here to even this out. On each side. And I'm going to blend that yellow into it. So, all right, let's just work on that with the sunburst yellow. So as before, we're going to blend halfway over that orange and then into its own white space. This makes a really nice color when you blend to the two. I'll have to get, I think stop right about here where the lizard's head is and don't do anything on that side as far as the sunburst. Because that's where we did it a little darker fill in any white areas. Gonna blend over partly and out. I'm gonna go about, let me think. I want the white area to be on each side of her, straight down where her, kind of where her breastbone is. Putting in a little yellow here just so it'll look nice when we blend it out. Okay, I've got to get up here. So we're going to go right up from the dip of his hind leg and then try to go straight on up and then over. Get right on in there. I think that's, I'm just adding a little yellow over here so it'll all blend out together. Okay, now let's do the same over here. We want to blend partly over the orange, just to where we did the darker areas right here. Then we're going to go down right about to here. Okay, then do everything in between. Okay, all the way down here. Good, nice how that white is right in the center, so that's good. So to finish off that effect, what we need to do is we need to put a very light touch of the yellow into the white a little, kind of like so it fades out. Just a little bit onto that yellow, very gentle and light. A lot lighter than where it ended previously. Just touch a little bit of that yellow there because we want it to look natural where the white starts. Okay, so now we're going to put in our white. Make sure there's nothing dark on the end of your pencil. I'm going to put this in the middle. Before we blend, a little bit overlapping where we just did that soft yellow fade out. Okay. That's good. Might add just a touch of white there. Just so it'll look a little softer around the white area when we blend. Okay, so then I might just touch a teeny bit of orange back around up here, really dark up in the corners. And then right along the line right here. Second layer of where we did before, right there. Just darken that up really nice. Really darker right here. Okay. That's good. A little darker right there. And I might touch just a tad bit more sunburst over that and in here. overlapping things and kind of get that in there before we start our blend. It makes it look nice. All right. So let's start blending. We need our Prismacolor blender. Make sure there's nothing dark from that green still on there. The arms, pick it with your fingernail. Give it a center sharpen. Looks clear. Then I'm going to start in the middle with the white, and where it overlaps just a little with the lime. And then go into that, or I'm sorry, where it overlaps a little bit into that yellow where we lightened it up. So it looks kind of soft right where it transitions into that white. And then go to the left or right, away from the white, to start blending that sunburst color. I'm going to go all the way down, doing all the yellow first before I go into the orange. We only want to really blend the two, have them touch each other at the line. Let's do this side. Okay, now into the sunburst. Okay, now we're doing the orange. Be shaking that table a little. I'm going to be I'm going to blend a little bit over into that yellow, or right at the yellow line, so we can kind of make sure those two kind of seem like a natural crossover right down the line. I like this look. It's very retro, natural and earthy. It's kind of what I was going for. Looking good to me. Now the white can either be like highlights or it could be part of the design. If you want to be highlights, you generally want to be a little bit more narrow, more like this, or at this point, I think it could be more just the design, but I like it. It really depends on if you want to touch a little yellow over that or not. It could be more like the area faded. I'm gonna go down here. Okay. There we go. I think we're about done with the sweater. Again, I like to take that lemon chartreuse or yellow chartreuse. Just put a little bit here, closer to the white areas. I think it looks good with white, especially if you do it lightly. And it's a nice transition from the yellow to white. Can't get too much in there with the blender, but you can get some, and it kind of softens that up just a little bit. There you go. That's nice. Kind of blend it right there. Okay, well, we're done with the sweater. If you don't like this look, you're free to take yellow and go all the way into the center if you like. I kind of like that look. It's kind of alternative and different and like a quirky, you know, autumn sweater. So that is good to me. So we are done with the sweater except for the little sleeves. And I'm going to take the orange and do this band here. Then I'm going to take the sunburst yellow. Gosh, I'm torn on that. Yeah. I'm going to color from the band outward gently and soft. I have a plan. Lightening it as you get to the middle. Then go ahead and add that yellow chartreuse. I don't have a card for that, but color that in the entire way. I wanted to add some more pops of that in here. It's kind of like a light limeade. I like it. Good. Real easy. So I'm just looking, is there anywhere else we can put pops of this color? Let's look at our swatch. You could get a little of that orange in some of these leaves. I think I wrote down, so let's take a look at what's next. Next I wrote down so for the big leaf on her head, I put lemon yellow, canary yellow, yellow chartreuse, and spring green. Spring green, canary yellow. So spring green, canary yellow, lemon yellow, and yellow chartreuse. So yeah, lots of limey colors that will be a nice accent to the lizard, and because lizards are kind of chameleon, and her sweater down here. So we have these 4 colors. So I'm actually not sure if I have made color cards for these. I don't think I did, so I can go ahead. Oh. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just, I have 1 for lemon yellow. I guess I didn't. Well, we're only doing 1 leaf, so I think we'll get by without it. I'll just tell you, for the big leaf on her head, we're going to start with the spring green, which is this. And what I kind of want to do is, excuse me, down here by the base of him, we'll do the yellow because it's so close to his color. But I'm just going to weave in very gently a little bit of this color. Kind of like we did randomly over here. I still need to touch up that one. So I'm just going to put in a little, this spring green in a few places. Really light, just a tint of it. Okay. All right. So, After the spring green, we're going to do the canary yellow. That's the darker yellow. It's a bright yellow, but it's darker compared to the others. It's a nice popping standard primary color on a rainbow yellow. So for that one, we're gonna weave a little bit overlapping this spring green. Leave lots of white areas for those other two colors, but we're just going to kind of overlap that spring green, kind of go around the edges of where we put it. Put some down here by the lizard. Its tail. Yeah, just a little. That's all we need. Then we can do the, which I do have a card for, which is the lemon yellow. And we can weave in some of this as well. Start moving that into the white space, a little bit into that canary yellow. Just a little bit here and there. Okay. Lastly, all you need to do is put in some of that yellow chartreuse. And that one I'm going to fill in the rest of the white spots. And I'm going to blend over everything because it's so light you can use it almost like a highlighter or blender. It's a nice limeade looking leaf, huh? Lemon limeade. Then what you can do next is you can take that spring green again and you can swirl in just a little bit more green if you like in a couple areas right there. All right. Touching in a little more lemon and a little more canary. And again, a little more chartreuse. Just weaving it in. So it's a nice kind of tie-dye-ish color of yellows. And then I'm going to take my blender. We don't really need this, but I want to just see what this does. Let me see if I like this or not. I'm going to do a little bit over the greens. Honestly, I don't think we need this because we did a hard blend with that chartreuse, that yellow chartreuse. So I mean, it just makes it look a little more natural. Yeah, that's all we have. Really easy. Done with that. So that's a nice accent to the sweater. We're trying to have a consistent color thing. I have here pointy head leaves, which would be these pointy ones. I have peacock green and Prussian green. Okay, I have Prussian green and peacock green. Let's do that. Okay, first thing I noticed is I did put light peach originally on the swatch here for the sweater, and we didn't use that. So I'm actually going to white that out. I'll go back and do that. I don't want to close the page when it's wet. I just got my white out to remember to white that out. Okay, so we're going to do her lips, the pointy leaves, and her eyes next. So for her lips, let's do her lips. For her lips, I have crimson red and pomegranate. So we have crimson red and pomegranate. Pomegranate, I just had, where are you? Oh gosh. Pomegranate, I just had you in my hand. Did I put you back in the basket? Okay, yes. All right, so what we're gonna do for her lips, we're gonna outline them. Her lips here. Oh, where's that? Lips, 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 lips. Yeah, and the pomegranate is actually darker. So we're gonna do that one first. And I'm going to outline, well, maybe about 1/3 of the way. I'm going to follow the line of her lips on the inside, of course. Someone was knocking at my door. I did want to point out that I have a lot of overhead lights that are kind of, you know, yellowish lights. So it might put a little more of a yellowish hue on her skin than what is in front of you when you do it. Just be warned about that. That's the case with all my pictures. All right. There we go. Okay, now take your crimson red and we're going to blend right in to the white and then over that pomegranate, and you can see some nice shadow, like she has a lip liner. And we're doing it red so we have a nice pop of color. We did have some red in our color palette, so we wanted that to really show. Okay. We just do nice and hard to try to fill up all that paper tooth. We don't need the blender here. We want things to be really vibrant. And then you can take the pomegranate and outline again after that along the top, especially if you need to catch any little bits of paper tooth. Okay, and then we're going to do right over one more time. Want them to look nice and rich red, like almost like a red barn. And we'll deal with getting a little bit on her lip, her mouth, her teeth, but we'll deal with that with a white gel pen a little later. So that's done, real easy. The next thing will be her eyes. And so for her eyes, I have grass green, true green, and peacock green. Okay, so the grass green, true green, Prussian green, peacock green, and grass green. Okay, there's grass green. I have all the greens here. So with her eyes, I'm not sure if we'll use, well, we probably will. You're gonna wanna start with the peacock green. Peacock green is gonna give the best kind of shadow for the upper part of her eyes. And I'm just making out my little color card here. Okay, so again, we're starting with the peacock green. Peacock green. Oops, don't want to put on her eye. And you're going to take that peacock green, make sure it's nice and sharp. And we're going to, the center part of her eye will be a black and a white. But we're going to do the upper 1/3 of her eye. You want nice and sharp, go up to the eyelash line. We're going to kind of go squiggle it in around this iris, come a little bit down, and then down again. So we're going to essentially trying to get it to go almost straight across, but we don't want to go so low as the bottom of the black part of the iris. All right, let's do a little more right here. Good. Okay, the next color would be the grass green. That's the medium shade we have. I think mine's sharp enough. And what we're going to do with that, so we're going to blend halfway over that peacock and into it. Not all the way to the top because you want it to show a little darker. And then straight across. Then we're going to lighten it up and go down just a little, not all the way. You want to leave some white there. Okay. So again, we're going to blend over most, but not all, that peacock. And we're going to lighten it, bring it down, and dust it across. Do a little bit right there. Leave some white space, okay? I do need to grab your peacock again. If you see any white tooth at the very top you need to fill in, you can kind of touch a little bit over that area you just where you stopped your grass green. Okay, and lastly, we're going to want the true green. And for that one, all we're doing is going into the white space and then blending at the line where we stopped with the grass green and a little bit up, just a little bit up. Don't want to cover all the dark with that. See how that works? It's a nice gradient effect. Really easy. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need a black water-based pen, or in this case I'm going to use my Le Pen because it's fairly thin. Your black Pitt artist pen would work. Do I have mine here? Yeah, I think I'll use that instead. I have my black Pitt artist pen. And so we're going to do most of the center iris black, but we want to leave a white so we don't have to worry about putting as much of the white Posca pen in, which, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline it. Go along the lash, and then I'm going to slowly close in the white until I feel satisfied with the size that's left. Try to make it as circular as you can, what you leave in the middle. I think about like that is good. If you totally mess up, just fill it in black and you can use a white paint pen. So circle it and close it in. Now that one's a little smaller, so we should try to close this one a little smaller. It is hard to get them identical. Then we do end up using white Posca pen anyway, but I try to keep some of the white in there. It just makes it easier. And I put the dot a little to the right, so it looks like she's looking that way a little bit. If you see how that is. I actually do think we're going to end up putting eyeshadow on her. So we're not going to do her lashes just yet, which we normally would use this artist pen for. But you want to hold on to those until it's time to do that. Now let's do the pointy leaves. So for the big pointy leaves on her head, I have peacock green and Prussian green. Peacock green and Prussian green. Peacock green and Prussian green. Oh, so that's okay. Yeah, I don't have, oh, I ran out of cards. I think that's why. Anyway, I don't have cards for both greens, but so what we're basically going to do is I really want to just do, this is a little trick I do. So, which is the darker of the two? The darker of the two, well, it doesn't really matter in this case because of the way I'm going to do it. So make sure they're sharp, first of all, and we're not going to blend anything. What we're going to do, though, is use two colors. And one of the benefits of Deborah Muller's books is she uses a lot of sections, squares, shapes, circles, diamonds, lines to divide spaces. So the pointy leaves have two sides. In this case, I'm going to do one color on each side, nice and solid, and that's it. So let's just start with either one. I'm going to start with the peacock green. I'm going to do this top area. I'm going to start with a lighter layer until I get everything in. So it'll be solid on each side, but since there's two colors side by side, it still creates a nice, you know, dimensional effect, so it's not too flat. I try to do a lot of things that's one color, but if you have two solid colors side by side, that can still give the same, you know, effect. So before I do a second coat, I'm going to come and do this one, the top part as well. So if you do the same area on each leaf, the same color, so you did the top on that one, so we should do the top on all of them. Do a light layer, light to medium at first to get that color into the paper and start pressing it down, and then we'll do another layer or two to get it how we want it. Okay, there's that. And then we're going to do the top of this one. All right. So over here, it doesn't matter. Since we did the inside one here, we'll do the inside one here. And a lot of thinking about color palettes is using repetitive colors and new colors, but repetitive colors woven throughout the page. So there's a nice cohesive flow of color palette. So you put a little bit of yellow here, a little bit of yellow here, a little green here, a little green, dark red. You know, you kind of put a little bit of everything in different areas, even if it's a little darker or lighter of that color. And that's what gives you that nice color palette, cohesiveness, and artistic flair. Okay. What is this here? So the rose ends here, and I don't know what this is. This must be a leaf, I guess. This goes right in here. I'm gonna do half this with this and half the other because I think it's a bigger one of those leaves. Okay, now go on in, start on the pointy end, and you'll see how much easier it is now when you do just a little pressure. It darkens up a lot quicker. You don't have to even do too firm yet because you're putting it in layers. Versus if you try to go straight to dark, when you start coloring a white area, you have to use a lot of pressure. Okay. I just let that sit. I still have a little to touch up. Let's get in here, try to go all in the same direction. If you can. All right. Get that in right here. This Prussian green almost has a tint of a turquoise in it, which is nice accents, a little different than the other greens, which I like. Let's get along here. Another round up here. Okay. Might need to touch up one more layer, but I want to first put in the other color now, which is the Prussian green. This one's going to be more of an olive color. You're going to put that in the area next to it. Start out light with its the first layer. Try to get the final layer in before I do my final hard burnish on a color. So in case I get any crumbs, I don't want to get it on a white area. There you go. And since I still have that window open, now there's a train going by because it just couldn't possibly get any more annoying. It's Sunday, there shouldn't be so many vehicles just transporting all over the place today, including motorcycles. Gosh, it's so far away and it feels like it's outside my window. I hate that. It's like 4 blocks at least, plus down a main road. But when you blast your horn like there's no tomorrow, yeah, I suppose the whole 5-block radius is going to hear it up for several miles. All right, so I'm trying to, what is this? This might be, there's a dip here, a V, and I don't think that's her hair. I'm going to have to assume that this is part of that leaf right under the lizard's tail. So we're going to do this. And this, I'm going to assume, is another leaf. I'm going to go in with that other color, the peacock. Kind of hard to tell because she's only showing a part of it. Okay, so that's looking good. So now I'm going to do a second layer on my Prussian. I don't know where they get the term Prussian green. It looks like a green all army. To me, it looks like army green. I think they should call it army green, like the military uniform camos and stuff. Was married to a Marine, so I'm used to that. But yeah, that's what this color is to me. I like those green army jackets from the 70s, 60s, and 70s that were all the rage. They're like really thin, long sleeve and tight, and they kind of hugged your body. All right. Still some tooth there, but I'll go back to that. I'm going to get down here. Let's get up here. I'm just getting in my second layer. I like to kind of put things in layers and step away and come back to each layer. Just let it rest for a minute. This is going to be a really beautiful autumn. I called her my autumn fall woods princess, or my autumn woods princess. So that's the name of this picture. I should use this to teach you guys a little bit of, some people are saying they want to do me to do some YouTube videos on understanding color palettes, so maybe I'll do that with this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, I'm going to sharpen and go back to the peacock green and do a final blend so it looks creamy and rich and there's no tooth showing anywhere. I'm going to go up here into this point, and this is the final blend. You should see, you do it in small areas and act like you're using a blender. It's super creamy and waxy. See how that works? Warming up from the pressure, nice and rich. There you go. Let's do, that's what happens by to me to the third layer. That's why I do single layers and then come back to it. Gave it a minute to warm up. There we go. Let's get over here. I have yet to choose a background color. It's probably going to be in the reddish category, maybe a maroon. I gotta see, we're gonna need to still get in some of that really dark brownish, like mahogany henna type color. So probably that's what we're gonna do. Sometimes I need to see the completed centerpiece before I decide what goes in the background. Okay, there's that. Nice rich color, blending it nice and creamy and dark. Okay. This area I think is what? Shoot, is this her hair right here? But there's no divisional lines. I think this is her hair right here. We need to go back, get the hair color, and right here. So we're gonna have to go back for her hair color. You can't always see that until you fill in everything. So now we're gonna do the Prussian green and the same thing. Nice and waxy and rich and slow little squiggles and pressure, hard pressure, get that creamy color laid down and everything blended out. So you see how I used two single colors, but I did them in layers and I did it bold and rich. So it still has almost like a 2D-ish effect. It's not as flat as if I did the whole thing in one color. I mean, you could do that, but when you contrast, it's all about contrast. Two colors side by side, well, that ends up being a good thing. There we go. Woo. Now this one. There we go, it's looking good. Next we're gonna do the little lizard on her chest, and oh my goodness, my eyes are a trip. I didn't see this swirl in his tail. We need to finish on the sweater. I have to bring in the yellow further. I don't know, like sometimes the brain doesn't see things. My brain didn't realize that was an open gap. So that's okay. That's why we go back and revise and touch up at the end. I do think next we're going to do this little garland around her face. I'm slotted to do it in dark green. At the moment, my dark greens are missing. I'm going to go take another look. So all of these look like they're done. Some good color laid down everywhere. I don't see a need. Okay, so I'm going to go grab her hair color so we can put some color in her hair there. That goes there. That's just the chocolate. I think it was chocolate in dark umber or something. And then I'm gonna grab to fix up the sweater there. And then we are going to start doing figuring out the color. If I'm going to do a dark red background, we're going to figure out what we need to put here. I'm thinking more in the sort of a halfway red. Yeah, Yeah, I have the, oh, I have the red fly. Oh no, I did do that. I'm so silly. I did that the other night. Yeah, so we have these kind of halfway between red, halfway between orange colors we're going to be doing. So I'll grab those colors. We'll be doing that flower next. All right, so you two grab your hair colors, sweater colors. If you made the same error I did and missed those, we're going to touch them up. Okay, so we're talking about coloring according to seasons. This is an example of something I have in the works right now for my Patreon, Deborah Muller Children of the Woods, which is a book completion project to work on in the group. So when Deborah Muller, a lot of her things are seasonal like, but this one is Children of the Woods, right? So there is no particular season, but since it's nature themed, I wanted this particular girl to be an autumn fall princess. So when I was looking at this page blank, which you could go in with any color palette you wanted, you could do, you know, pinks and spring, you know, whatever you wanted. I want to do fall and autumn. So the first thing I realized is I want to find a fall and autumn color palette. Now, naturally, I know what fall and autumn colors are. Anybody really does. But so I went into my color cube index to particularly look for an autumn fall color palette, even though I didn't really feel like I needed it. So I chose this one. This is from the Sarah Renee Clark color cube. So this is before I colored anything, blank page. I knew I wanted to do these colors. And how that really works is these are the main colors you see here, right? But then these are the gradient of the different shades you can go within that color to still be in that palette. And then I decided to add my own pop of color, which is a little bit of a dark red, because you do see in autumn a lot of leaves, dark reds as well, which is why I did kind of the lips. In a minute, I'll talk about how I chose the colors, but I plan a lot of my palettes in advance, right? You'll know that if you've joined my Patreon, or if you're going to join my Patreon, I give a copy of my color palette attached as a photo, front and back, when we start. And sometimes I alter as I go. That's why they might have little sticky notes or kind of look like a disaster. But so what I do is I decide what medium I'm going to use. Okay, I'm going to use Prismacolor pencils. Open my Prismacolor swatch, whether it's a digital or the one I have that I've done myself. Now in the Sarah Renee, well, okay, let's get back to that. First, let's go to what I was trying to get at. This picture is not completed. And so far, now I have a lot of colors I've chosen here within the range of this palette, which is what I'll talk about in a minute. But my point is I hadn't decided what color I want to do the background, which I often don't until I'm 3/4 of the way into the picture. But I can look at this picture right now, and I don't have anything on here yet for background. It's blank. And I can say, let's look at the palette. What's missing? You know, how are things going so far with the, after, you know, if you only can start with the 5 basic as you go, what's missing? And then when I look at this, I realize really what's missing is the auburn or deep red or burgundy maroon, somewhere in that whole kind of brownish red line. I mean, obviously I picked a few browns from these colors here, and I picked a dark red, which I added, but there's nothing really in between, which is the straight up kind of mahogany maroon color, more on the reddish side, somewhere between the brown and the red. So I'm thinking what's missing is more red tones. I have all the greens taken care of, the chartreuses, the brown, the orange, you know, so I need a little more orange. That's maybe somewhere between a cross and a red. So that's when I picked the permanent red and the carmine red. It's kind of in between. So we'll do that in some of these other leaves and in this rose, but I don't have the dark red. So I decided I'll do this whole background in the dark red, like a dark wine color, right? And the reason being because it's not anywhere else really. So I would use a color for a background that's either really bold and the lighter, brighter colors on top, or really pale with the dark, bold colors on top in the centerpiece. And if I have a whole solid background one color, I'm going to try not to use much of that color anywhere else, because you want that to pop. Now I'll put a little tint of it somewhere. So for example, I'm going to do this background in a dark, deep red. So I'm going to do these little things on her arms in a combination of one pencil that's the same red and maybe one a little bit lighter. So that way we can create a consistent color palette that's woven throughout, right? So here in her sleeves, we have a chartreuse and an apple green. I put some chartreuse apple green and 2 other yellows in this leaf. There's a little chartreuse in the lizard. And we have some of this orange in her sweater is also in the leaves, but with 2 other colors. So it's not overly redundant, but there's crossover and the colors start to kind of come together. So when it comes to doing backgrounds, for example, I generally don't plan the background until last. I don't do the backgrounds first because backgrounds, even though they're kind of like an afterthought, they're in the background, they pop out. They're often the majority of color space depending on the picture. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so you want the background to be an accent to what's in the center of the picture. So I always do backgrounds last, and I often don't choose colors until then. So when I was planning this palette, I knew that there was a lot of stuff on this paper, right? I mean, this book has, some are a little more basic, but some have a lot. So if you get these cards from the Sarah Renee Clark box, there's a digital guide where it'll tell you what color numbers in, you know, some well-known ones like Prismacolor, for example. So it told me the color pencil numbers for each of these colors, but I'm like, you know, you can't do a whole picture in 5 colors, 5 specific pencils. You can. It's actually very hard. The less you use, the harder it is. So what I do is I pick the first 5 colors that match. Then I look for colors in that range, a little darker of the same and a little lighter. So for example, this orange, it goes all the way up to a pumpkin orange, and you can also just use your imagination and realize there's going to be 1 or 2 oranges a little lighter than this, such as right here. If you were to go down 1, 2 shades of orange, you're going to get into the more bright, sunnier orange. So I pick maybe 3 colors, 2 to 3, that would complement this. That's also orange, a little lighter and a little darker. So I can just imagine it would fit. Like if this bar were extended, I can visualize what would kind of go in that range. Like I wouldn't do like a neon orange or anything like that. Same with like the chartreuse. Chartreuse eventually goes up into like this light olive green, but it has a lot of a yellow tint to it. And then under this green chartreuse or yellow chartreuse, we get it up to one that's almost a little brighter, which I put in this leaf, which has more yellow in it even than this. It still has some green in it. So what I do is I take each color and I pick maybe 3 in the same range, right? So the green here that's kind of like an evergreen. That's like an olive. These don't vary a lot, but I could also really go like with this apple green. We get up to a darker olive green. There's a little here, so I picked olive green for the lizard, but a couple shades lighter, but same color, but a little lighter. Like if you were to darken or lighten the same color, that's a different shade of the same color. So that's how I get enough pencils in a color palette to do it. So I'll have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, but 5 pencils and then maybe 3 more of each. That's like 15 more pencils. That's kind of in that same category. So that's how I work with the color cards. And then I say, okay, I've got all these pencils now. I got this whole palette. What am I going to do? Where am I going to start? The first thing I like to look at is what's the biggest area other than the background? Obviously her sweater is a big area, right? And skin tones, unfortunately, can't really fit into most color palettes. I try to put a little yellow tint in there, but that's a whole separate thing. Anyway, so sweater is a big area. So I think, okay, I want to use multiple of shades in the same sweater. I don't want a solid orange sweater, just flat solid. That won't pop out. It won't really be colorful. I wanted to weave my colors into there. So I start looking at my, not the pencils, but my color, before I picked the colors. Exactly. Well, okay, I picked the colors, I swatched them out. That's what I do because I'm teaching on video. I look at them and I see which ones look nice together, which ones can blend well. For example, you could blend a light brown, a light umber with a dark pumpkin orange. You can blend, and then you could go even to a little bit of a lighter orange. You can blend into that. You can see where you can get 2 to 3 colors that would blend nice together. Gradient style, or I kind of go by that, or I say, if I look at these colors, which do I want my picture to be more bright? Do I want to use more of the brights, or do I want to use more of the darks? Do I want to have mostly the dark reds, the dark greens, and the dark orange, which would be this row here, all dark, or do I want to have more browns? And then I would pick sweaters that's all in the browns and maroon maybe some little accents of green. So I just kind of look at it and decide. And if I can't decide, I just start with one area. You know, like if I were to come over here, okay, let's do this picture here. I picked this picture here then. I picked a color palette. Okay, I'm going to do a evergreen Christmas. Well, no, that's too simple. I want to do just some, again, autumn tones. Let's just say we're doing autumn tones again. Where do I start? This is my color palette. Where would I start doing what? Obviously, you can be like, well, what's natural? What color would a mouse naturally be? Unless you want to go to alternative colors like a pink mouse. But if you want to stick with nature, natural colors, you can kind of estimate, you know, obviously he's going to be in the brown shades. So there you go. That solves that question. Skies, how can I do a sky out of this? You're going to have to probably do somewhere in the sunset. Yellow and oranges is going to end up being your sunset most likely. Leaves, you can do autumn colors. You can do all yellows, all greens, or all orange leaves. So I just kind of look at the main center first. This is the biggest object, this mouse. He's going to be mostly brown shades because I don't want to make him any unnatural color. So since I'm going to have a lot of browns, well, what am I going to do now? I don't want to overkill it brown, right? So now I got to think, where can I put in some oranges and reds that are going to look nice? So I'd probably put that around him in the flowers. I would do these leaves, the leaves. I might do the leaves, these red and orange shades, darker and lighter, which will look nice with the brown centerpiece. And then I just kind of as I go along, I question myself, what's these two flowers, or these 4 flowers here, this like little row, let's say 1, 2, 3, whatever, 5 flowers. Okay, now I have browns, I have orange and yellow leaves. What do I want to do here? Well, what color do I still need to use from my palette? What color is going to look the best with what's closest to it? And then I kind of choose from there. And I just make sure I'm using a little bit of everything, so I'm not doing too much of one, too much of the other. And then sometimes for me, the pictures just come together. I don't, now when I'm doing pictures on video for you guys and teaching, I do put all this process in my head and write it all out. When I'm coloring just for my fun, like what I colored this month pictures I show you, I generally just do it all in my head. I don't generally plan it out unless I am using a color card, and I do have to, because you can't just select colors without doing that. I tend to use the color cards more for teaching though, because I already know a lot of color themes in my head. So that's kind of how I would use a color palette to get started. And let me give you an example. I will show you another one. Okay, so I updated the swatch. I added this little card for the ran out of room, the small little leaves here, this little red note we're going to do. And for this big one here, I originally had big leaf head. I think I was supposed to do both of those that color, but now I am glad I didn't, because that would be too much of the chartreuse and lime. So I'm going to adjust. I also wrote in finally the 2 background colors that we chose. We're going to do crimson, Tuscan red, and raspberry. And so I got to put in this color here, nice dark reds, which is why I want to do these leaves green, because you want an opposite color on top of one another. And I had originally dark green for this garland. My dark green is missing everywhere. I have 2 sets and they're both missing. I don't understand it for the life of me. So I'm changing that to olive green, which I have here. So first I want to go ahead and let's do that. If you have the dark green, which I believe is maybe, I have this on here. I think it might be 907. Anyway, for these little garlands, I'm going to do olive green. You can certainly do the dark green color. I think it's PC 907. I'm not exactly sure at the moment, but I don't have my reading glasses on. But let's go ahead and do these little leaves, the olive green. And all we're going to do is straight up color them in. You can go right on in with a sharp point and a hard pressure, because don't worry if the little sharper tip breaks off your pencil. It's completely fine. We want these to stand out. The dark green would be a little brighter, but also still dark would have been better, but this olive is pretty close. And you can see, you can still see this. So I'm using olive green, just simple straight color. Should Alexa set timer 1 hour?
Good afternoon, Emily. 1 hour.
I have something I forgot to do. I just remind myself to do it in an hour. So we're coloring all of this in. That looks good. See, it's a nice dark green. We needed some darker greens in this area. Let's get some on this side. And I knew this dark green would look good with the brown tones in her hair, because that ombre hair, the ginger root and the chocolate looks really good with an olive green. Olive green and browns look great together, even different shades of olive green. I mean, there's really one traditional olive green, but this one looks almost not quite light enough to be an olive, like an olive actually would be. I've never seen any dark green olives quite this dark. Okay. This would have been a lot easier with my Green Pit Artist pen, which is a good bold way to get in some little areas here. I need to sharpen just a little, don't want to go too sharp. And the nice emerald green of her eyes really pop out against the brown, and this green is so different, I didn't think it would take away from that. I didn't really want to use a green that would, you know, compete with her eyes. Drinking my coffee. To get these videos done on time for my Patreon launch, I'm having to double up, do 2 things at once. Usually don't eat while I'm doing my art and teaching. But I spend so long on little details that Things are taking me a little longer than I intended, but I like things to be nice. This is a good example of using some single non-layers and in little areas, solid block of color combined on a page with objects that have lots of colors blended. So that can sometimes pop out as nice and bold when you do this. Like these are nice and bold. Your eye can see it. Sometimes when things are blended, your eye doesn't know where to go. Like on our sweater, for example, does your eye go right to the white? Does it go to the green sleeves, the orange? So I like to contrast these kind of things in layers. All right. So, I need my caffeine. That looks good. But this is allowing me to see the little nicks and brown hair that you didn't see before with the white that kind of ran right into those leaves. So now I can go back and touch up these areas on her hair around there. If you see that, that's all part of my final quality control touch-up process at the end. So don't worry about that right now. Okay. So next I'd like to do these green leaves down the side before we do the background. For that I put olive green again and marine green, which will be kind of a nice complement to this, but I wanted 2 greens. I wanted things to blend, and the marine green has more, this is what's interesting. This looks more like an olive to me than the olive green. This looks more like an evergreen, which is interesting. Marine green, yeah, it's kind of algae, has a little bit of brown in it. So in this case, I want to try to blend. So let's start with the marine green, which is darker. Well, actually, no, it's tricky because they're both dark. They're just totally different shades. So let me swatch this for a second. Yeah, we'll try that way. Let's do the marine green first. What I want to do is I just want you to do the base half in the marine green. So this part, and then up the middle, so you have some white on each side. I'm just going to kind of go through and do all of them like that. I just bounce around, so I'm doing the base, and then up the middle. Up the middle. And I'm leaving some tooth showing under this. I'm just kind of fluffing it in with a medium pressure, circling it in. I'm going to run up and down the middle there. Let's go up here. Down the middle. Let's do here. All right, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. We got some soft color in on there. It's kind of gonna be like a base. It might show, it'll show through a little bit the other. So let's hope that this was the right order. Let's do the olive green. In this case, I'm going to obviously soft to medium blend into the white parts. So like, let's say I just did that. Now you can kind of see both. And I'm going to put in a little color, weave a little bit into the olive. I'm going to end up using a blender on these. So I'm not going to overlap too much. That way the colors remain separate. And right here. Yeah, so we're just kind of melding these two colors together. You could even tap in a touch of like a mustard or goldenrod yellow into this. It'll look really nice, a nice leaf color. This is good. I'm happy with this. I might actually do that. I might squiggle in a little yellow, because remember there's going to be a dark red in the background and some dark red on her sleeves. Okay. So I am going to grab, let's see. Ooh, that's nice too. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my jasmine. And you don't have, you don't have to do this. I don't have a card for this, but I just want to squeeze in a little bit of this yellow before we blend, kind of around the spine and a little bit on that olive. I think this is going to make a nice colorful blend. This is jasmine. I think you can also use like a golden or a little deco yellow even. This one's a little more neutral yellow. But that marine green has some yellow tints in it, like some brownish yellow tints, so I think this will be nice. Okay, let's grab our Prismacolor blender. This is pretty dark, so it doesn't really matter if there's anything on your pencil. I'm going to start in the yellowish goldenrodish area. I'm sorry, the yellowish marine area. See, out of that yellow, it's swirling to a nice brownish yellow with a tint of green now. I'm going to do the base first, where all the marine green and that jasmine is I added. Yeah, this is looking nice. Gotta lose a little harder pressure, but trying not to catch too much of that black leaf line from the art that's in the middle. Okay, then let's move down into the the olive area, blend that, and kind of push upward back into the marine green. So you don't pull so much of that marine green down into the olive and turn everything too dark. There we go. I like this. It's going to look great on top of the dark red. And it's not too dark. The blender stick with that touch of jasmine kind of narrow things out. I wonder if I can add... See, you can't fit the word jasmine on there. I really ran out of room with this palette. A lot of nature colors. So I'll photograph and add the final one at the end. Attach it to the Patreon. All right, so we're done with this. The next thing I'd like to do would be this rose. And for this rose flower, I have Crimson Lake, Permanent Red, and Carmine Red. The darkest being Crimson Lake, you can see here. The way this works, you need a good, fairly sharp to get a good blend. There's a method I do for these really thin petal roses. Fairly sharp pencil. So what I like to do, let's see if I can zoom this in. The danger is I often forget to zoom back out. Okay. So what I like to do, imagine each petal has 3 colors, and the way we do that is a gradient. Divide each petal into thirds. The one closest away from the center, so the one closest to the black line on the outside, has the first shade. Then the middle will have the second shade, and the third will have the lightest shade. And you want generally 3 colors that will go well together, like a dark, medium, light, that you can visualize would blend together. So let me give an example. I'm going to, with my nice sharp point, color in about a third, so you can go right along the line, a little bit darker, and then bring it into a little bit down, a little bit lighter, just for where we're going to blend in, just a little bit right here. So you can overlap the other color. Let's do another one. Now this area is more narrow, so we're going to go a little tighter next to the line. A little bit down. We have this long wraparound one. So we're going to do Now, then we did dark, kind of outlined it, but now we can bring it in just a little. Lighten the pressure to bring it closer to the inside. Just close to halfway or just below halfway, like a little over 1/3, because you are going to overlap colors. All right. Helio, cat in here. All right, let's do the same over here. There we go. Now this outside one's really narrow, so keep it real close to the line. Nice and dark. So I'm doing all petals first. I'm not even going to bring that one in. I'm just going to stop right at the line. Make sure it has a good outline. These littler ones, you just have to get more crafty. I'm going to outline and go a little bit inward. It's a little harder with the more narrow ones. So just go in just a little, lighten it, bring it in just a little. Okay, let's go right here. There we go. Let's do this a little bit right here. This one, almost we're getting to the center here. Just gonna outline the line, not really gonna go in at all. These ones as you get closer to the center. Okay. Let's do here. Come down a little. This little one over here. Okay. I'm gonna go around here. Just gonna outline these tiny ones, and I'm gonna color. I'm just gonna go right over the black line and outline it, not even on the inside, just to get that bold color in there. It's a little tricky. You need it nice and sharp. My point's still pretty sharp. Go around that center bulb. All right, so you got the idea. So I'm going to re-go over this one here so it's dark. Okay, so next we're going to go to the permanent red. Keep a decent sharpen, and you'll see this rose gets a little pinker toward the middle. So I'm going to start color into the other color, especially the halfway point where we're starting to lighten it. Blend over it, and then I'm bring that down further, but I'm going to leave at least a 1/3 strip of white for the final color, like that. See that? It's going to be harder to do this in the more narrow areas. You're going to only have to be able to do a little, like right here. You're not going to be able to bring it down much. That's why you need a really sharp point for this. I'm going to blend in here. Make sure you leave white space in each petal. Blend over that crimson and then down to the white area, over and down. It's really just a 3-color tie-dye, I guess, well, not like a tie-dye, gradient. Dark, medium, and lighter tone of the same shade. Put in from dark on the outside to lightest on the inside. And blending them in a specific way. Let's get over here when I get down to some of this white area. Okay. Lastly, carmine red. Try not to drop your pencil. And this one is like a bit of a pinky-ish coral tone. So there's one other technique too. You can often leave a teeny bit of white. I missed one. You can often add a teeny bit of white on the furthest inside. I forgot to do these little ones here. Just go in on just a little. All right, so take that carmine red. Let's blend on in. So you see I'm blending into the red lightly and over everything. I do go a little bit lighter into the white area, but you do want that tooth filled. Use the pencil to kind of go over everything a little darker outside that white area. Okay. So it brings a little definition. I might have to go over it with a blender as always. Fill up that final tooth and get that final effect we want. This part's fast. You can get right on into those white areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my white. Leo, down. Cat drama. Put in a little at the base in a few of these areas. Right here where there's still some tooth showing. What's the matter, buddy? It's going to look a little better for the blending in. Just a little bit here or there. Strong. Cat drama. All right, now we're going to take our blender, blend over that white first in the lighter areas toward the innermost area. Okay. Woo! That's all we need there. One thing that can work well is you can take your white pencil if you wanted, or my white artist pen, which I don't have. Let's see what this would look like. You can tap back in a little more white. I didn't really do a lot of white in this one, just if you want to like a little highlight areas, a few highlight areas on top of the blend. Okay, that is done. You can also go back in with your Crimson Lake, which was the darkest. If you need to re-outline anything, little dark shadows back in there. Anyway, Leo, stop. Ugh, why is always tearing up my sofa? Cat drama. Okay. All right, so next, I'm going to have to zoom out, see how this all looks together. Looking good. I'm ready to move on to the background. I kind of want to get that wide expanse out of the way. For the background, we're going to use raspberry and Tuscan red. There's my Tuscan red. The Tuscan red, as you can see, is much darker. And let's see. Tuscan red. So because we have this flower here and it's close to the background, I don't want to put the raspberry on this part because it's so close it might not pop well on top. I'm going to put the darker, the Tuscan red up here. So what that's going to look like is we're going to do darker to lighter. So I'm basically going to start filling it in with my first light layer. I'm going to try to keep things going in an up and down pattern, or vertical that is. And these nice light layers, the first layer, so I don't get streaks or pencil lines. I'm just going to up and down, nice even soft to soft medium beats. Get this color in. Okay, check my watch there for a minute. So it's getting real flat on one side, but that's okay because it makes for a wider expanse of a soft, even blend with that flat area from the pressure that's developed. So I'm trying to keep it on that flat area and not lifting it off the paper unless I'm moving the pencil. Right now, for example. I'm going to go down here. All right, so this is the first. We're going to go to about, we're going to stop at that leaf for this one, and we'll stop at this leaf, and for this one. Nice, soft, even beats. It's about as far down as I want to go with this one. We're going to put in the first layer of each before we do our darker blends. I'm going to soften it right here, and this is where it's going to end. See, it's pretty close to the other side. Okay, let's go into our raspberry now. Oh dear, I'm so sorry I didn't have the card. All right, so I'm going to start coloring with my raspberry. Again, nice even beats. This one's not quite flat yet, so I got to make a flat end. Trying to push on the same consistent side. And then get down here. Okay, let's start blending down here around these leaves. I'm going to blend up into that other red where it ends and down. Get down here. I'll do a little bit of an angle down here because that's the way it comes out of the branches. All right, we're going to obviously do a second layer. All right, so that's good. That's just the first layer. Before we proceed with our next layers, I want to finish what's left. I missed a little bit of this garlandy stuff. So I want to grab my olive, put this in. This is a good opportunity to look for anything that you can now see more, what white that's overlapping that your brain didn't see, like mine. All right, there we go. Did I miss any more? I don't think so. So her sleeves are going to be maybe one of these colors up here, a nice little red accent that touches on the red elsewhere. So since this will be a darker red, that leaves these two corner leaves, and for the big corner leaves, I put poppy red, yellowed, and yellowed orange, and I want to add canary yellow. So we're going to get those in. So we're almost done here. 916 canary yellow. 916 canary. All right. Canary yellow. Might use a little magenta. We'll see. I'll hold that on the side. So start up in this corner and get these leaves done. Then we're going to do the lizard, and then we're going to I have to do her sweater, and then we'll put in that final background layer. So I want to get that first layer in so I don't get many crumbs here on my leaves, and I want to kind of get a feel for how that red's going to look before I mean, it's going to be like 3 times darker, but I wanted to get a feel for that before we put anything else in there. Okay, so we're going to work on these leaves in the corners. To get that out of the way, I want to start with this poppy red. It's a nice orangey reddish color. It's a nice fall color. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of weave this in, and kind of like we did these original leaves. I'm going to show you some finishing touches at the end to make your leaves more vibrant. So I'm just going to kind of, since this is our darkest color, I'm going to get some up here like at the top. I'm going to kind of just weave it in different areas. You know, you don't have to put in any particular way. Wherever you do put it in, if you do a little darker, try to lighten it up wherever it stops, because you're going to want to blend in that lighter orange-ish color. We have next into that. Okay, let's do these ones over here. I'm going to do them both. I want to do them both the same. The thing is, I'm only going to do one. I'm going to do the top one. This bottom one is shaped a little different. We'll do a little different color so since they're going to overlap. Okay, then let's do the one. See, this bottom was a little different shape too. Let's stop, and we'll do the bottom one and this one in a little different fall colors, just so they're different. Let's do that. Let's be creative. So next, let's go to the yellowed orange. Yellowed orange is PC1002. Yellowed orange. I didn't have a card for that, but I kind of make them as I go if I've never had to have a card for it. Yellowed orange. Okay. So what we're going to do here, this one is not, it's a little lighter. It doesn't have as much red in it. We're going to go ahead and kind of weave this in, overlap it and under. All right, I think it looks good. I'm trying to lighten it around the first color, the poppy areas where the edges were a little too blunt dark. So there's a nice soft transition. Lastly, I have the canary yellow. I have a card for canary yellow, and I think it's at my other work desk because I was working on Prismas in another room, so I'm not going to have that, but I'm just going to show it to you. This is canary yellow. It's that bright lemony yellow that I love. We're going to put this right on in here. And I'm really just blending over everything. I'm going to let this yellow become like an overall blender. I'm going to blend it right into the oranges, into the white, kind of like cover it so the oranges kind of show through from underneath. You can use a harder pressure so it starts to look a little creamy. We'll still use the blender on it, but blending the lightest color over the top can function nicely as a way to blend the other colors. It doesn't work quite the same. It's a little more waxy and it's different. It often depends on which colors you're blending, of course. Okay, that looks nice. I like it. And then let's go over here. I still have to go back and touch up her sweater where I missed those areas around the lizard in the front. Just blending over everything, getting it in. Okay. let's do blend. All right, I'm going to blend over the yellow first. Actually, I'm not sure it matters that much in this because we were blending everything together. And now that I think about it, just try to avoid some of the black lines where you can. The Prismacolor blender doesn't generally pick up ink, but I feel like it did on this page in some spots. Doesn't seem like it's really happening here. Just try to kind of weave around it and soften everything out where you can. There you go. Let's get this all in and done. All right. So for these other two, oh, this big leaf I have, I thought I wrote down, did I write down a different color blend? Not sure I did. We still need to do the lizard on her shirt, and for that one, we have the Tuscan red and the sandbar brown. Let's work on that for a few because we do have the Tuscan red out since we've been kind of working on the background. I have both right here. I'm gonna get that done and then I'll figure out, I have to figure out a color for the leaves that will look good. Let's do this little guy here, and I'm torn because this whole background is going to be Tuscan red, so I don't know if I want all of him Tuscan red with brown spots or all brown with red spots. That's probably better, so it's not too much of the same red. So we're going to do the sandbar brown on him with red spots, which would be, I think, the best use of the blending the color. I'm gonna look at my swatch here for a minute. Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. Let's do that. All right, so for sandbar brown, it is PC 1094. Make sure it's pretty sharp because we're going to do some soft layers for this little lizard guy here. All right, so we got sandbar brown and Tuscan red. And so when you look at these two, the background's going to be largely Tuscan red. So I think we need, and then we're going to put some red on here. So I think we need to do him in the sandbar brown. His body's going to be the sandbar brown for sure. I had to test it out, but yeah, let's do that. Okay, so let's go on in here with this nice fine point and get his toes. And this is a light brown. It does kind of look like sand, which is why it's called sandbar brown. And you know, lizards are meant to be kind of camouflaged earth tone colors. So you can, since the legs are small, I'm going to just do a light layer at first. Go over it lightly a few times. Then I'm going to increase my pressure and try to fully go over it until all that tooth is covered. Do all the layers all at once. Be careful not to get any on her sweater. All right. Let's start going on the leg. We need to go around the spots. I mean, if you get a teeny bit on there, it's not the end of the world because we'll do the Tuscan red. But do try to go around it as much as you can. Okay. Yeah, this is good. I think this is a good choice because it complements her hair. That's another reason I wanted to kind of go with the Tuscan brown. We're going to do the head here. I'm going to go back up and touch this up, but I want to get the first layer in while my pencil is still sharp. This is a nice natural brown. Still a little, I guess it might look more like a dark sand in a shadow under a tree, but it's a little dark for sand, like beach sand, I think. Maybe unless the wet areas, wet sand might look like this, I suppose. All right, so just put on a little final touches here. Nice and creamy, dreamy brown. I might take my artist pen or black pen, put some black spots on them. here. Okay. Now we can do that Tuscan red on his body, which will be a nice little accent to the background red. Oh, not sharp enough. Really need a sharp one for this. All right, so let's go ahead and use it while it's really sharp into the little spots first. Good news is lizards come in all different color shapes and sizes. You can get away with that. Okay. Pretty light. I'm going to put a little tint of red in his upper eye. Like a little bit of a blood red eye or something. Just the top half there. Leave part white above the black pupil. All right, if you see any brown little spots you missed, just touch that real quick. Keep that Tuscan red out. We're going to work on the background. I want to grab a black pen. You can use a felt pen, a Pit Artist pen. Micron's too thin. I'm going to use my black Le Pen because it's like a felt pen firm. I'm just going to put on a few more little black dots on this guy that kind of stand out above the brown that's kind of muted and dull. Little V there, little two nose holes. I'm going to give him four little black toes. This is a very fine point. It's actually good for journaling. It's called Le Pen Flex, and you can get them in it comes in a set of multiple colors. I use this one a lot with my Pit Artist pen because it's a firm tip, small. It's good for eyelashes on characters. I'm going to put a little black in his pupil here. I'm actually going to go around over here. I'm going to put some black in her eye around her pupil as well while we're at it. So you can use any fine liner black pen you have. I'm going to do her lower eyelashes while I'm at it. This is perfect for eyelashes. You just have to go quick and just go straight down over the ones that are already drawn. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to do some nose holes. eye, the little lizard's nose and mouth up here I'm going to do. Since I already have the black pen out, I'm just getting these details in. All right, we're going to, let's do her eyebrows. You want to gently swipe upward. Micron's too thin. Artist pen is pushing too thick, but it will work. This one is just right. I need to link these little pens below. I use them a lot. And I still wanted to put a little eyeshadow on her. We're going to go back to that. Okay, so since we're here, once we're at it, let's go ahead and put in some more Tuscan red into the background. Let's get that done. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do in all the back of the Tuscan red to here, another layer, and another layer of the next color like we did. And then when you still see some tooth, I'm going to do a little more, and then I'm going to use the blender. I'm going to blend from the light up into the dark, from bottom to top. And I'm going to go ahead and do this on double speed with some music, just because it'll take a good half hour. And so I'm not boring y'all with my talking or anything like that. So just watch closely what I'm doing. I'll try to keep the color I'm using. It's the same thing we did before. We're just kind of repeating that process. Okay, you saw we finished the background. All I did is multiple layers of that crimson and raspberry and blender sticked it all out as nice as I could. I think it looks pretty great. I want to go ahead and do her eye makeup, and for that I don't have room on my swatch, so I'm just gonna have to tell you or put it in the comments of the video. But there's 3 reds I want to use. I want to use the permanent red, the poppy red, and the magenta. Okay. And for the magenta, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get it in this little corner of her eye. Try not to get too much of the black. The little corner of her eye. And weave between each eyelash. Just a little. Just down to maybe the side right here. Just a little. That darker one. Let's go over here. Let's go between the eyelashes. Okay, so then I want you to do the permanent red, and we're just gonna blend this in into where that other color ended and go upward, not all the way to the eyebrow. Blending a little bit down the eyelash, between the eyelashes and over. Okay, I'm gonna kind of go up right here, fan it out a little. Then I want you to go to the poppy red. That's nice and sharp. Gonna blend that in. Has a little more orange, pinkish tint to it, more orange, like a poppy. I'm gonna go at a slight angle. Go up to the eyebrow and kind of circle that in. Good. That looks great. So another thing I might want to do is grab my orange. I want to put a little orange over that. All right. And then we're going to do the eyelashes. I'm going to take the magenta . I'm going to take the magenta I'm going to take the magenta All right, and I just have a little pomegranate here. I'm just gonna put a little bit into these edges. So it's a little more bold than the center. Pomegranate's a little richer than the first color we had, the magenta was. I use an awful lot of pencils, plus the few of these ones I can't even add on here on this 2-page swatch. I'll have to type these last ones when I go back and look at the video into the the body of the video for the little flower eye makeup, corner, you know, whatever, the green leaves. Woo! And we have fingernails. We need a dark red, and I'm going to straight up use my magenta Pit Artist pen because it's going to be more bold. Pop out more on her nails. I like pens, but these pens are great for makeup. There's only 4 nails, so I use this to touch up a few things, a few spots. So if you see anything you need a little touch up, I need to put in some brown here. I messed up right there on her hair. I want to show you something here. I put a little dark in the center of each flower with my magenta on her sweater. Then I'm going to take, I have 2 oranges here. I have orange glaze. I have scarlet red. You can use also a Tombow dual brush pen, any kind of water-based pen. And I have a Pit Artist pen, cadmium yellow. And these are great to do touch-ups on leaves to make them pop a little more. So if I'm going to take a little of that scarlet red, just see here. Look, I'll put in a little over this pencil. A few areas. Just to make it look a little more vibrant. I'm going to do then this other orange. I use this for a lot of my leaves. It's a nice little trick I do. I'm going to then touch on some yellow too. All right. There. Or like if you were to touch in just the yellow, see how much more vibrant it can get? I like to touch in a little oranges as well. I'm going to do just the medium orange on this one. Put it in here and there. Put that yellow back over it. So once you blend out with the Prismacolor, sometimes it can look a little more dull. This just helps it to brighten right up. Especially over the blender, which is kind of scratchy and dry. Okay, that's good. Like, I don't think I need any yellow touch up here, but you can put a little more yellow in here. Put a little more yellow in here. Real easy. Like, I could take my brown Pit Artist pen and touch up the brown spots. This one's almost out of ink though. But yeah, if you want to make these brown spots more vibrant, this is what I was saying. I get a nice medium brown. This is raw umber. I use it for a lot of nature type things. Stripes on trees, witch's broom, like the broom part, the bristles part for like striping things in. Do use it quite a bit. And I wanted to get a pink pen. And I wanted to touch up just a little bit her cheeks so they're a little more pink. I will do that off camera and see if I can enter that in the final picture, which I'll insert into the beginning when I post the video. And I just have to grab the brown because I didn't fully actually put red in here where her hair is. It's supposed to have been brown right there. That was my bad. And put a little here between that skin. I don't see anymore. Just look around if there's anywhere that should have been hair instead of that red. This is actually the top of her head, I think, up here. Yeah, so I'll just look it over, see if I need to touch up anything else. I might put a little more, like I can take in some of this yellow, put over some of these green leaves right here. That looked a little dull. All right, just top it a little here. And I just touch it to press it in. See these little bit of yellow? Gives it a little more vibrancy and goes over that dull greenness from the pencil. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something and really like my Autumn Fall Princess. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go post the video and we're going to move on now to the witches. Okay, so let's go ahead. I just touched enough in there. I keep getting interrupted, but I'm going to just swirl that in. We don't need to use a blender or anything. I think it's fine. It's kind of nature goddess. You could touch in a little bit of yellow with the lemon yellow if you wanted. Not sure. Well, that's going to blend in. You can lighten that orange a little right here with the yellow. Okay, so then let's go ahead and do the Pitt Artist Pen black for her eyelashes. And we're going to start at the base and go straight up without stopping so it doesn't look streaky. And you have to go over the pencil if you got any on the pencil. And we did the lower one, so this is just for the upper ones. Okay, it looked a little wet down the end. Just don't touch it. Let it dry. Okay. That's great. Another thing I did is I grabbed some of my Pitt Artist pens. This is the magenta, and I'm going to actually run this over the pencil. This is a non-bleed medium. It's a felt. So this is a little more vibrant on this lizard because it looks a little dull. And the wet ink that sits on top of a waxy pencil is good. Just don't touch it. It has to dry. There's no tooth to absorb this, so it has to kind of dry on top of the wax. It's going to look a little wet and shiny. It just makes it a little more vibrant. This is a little trick I like to do, so it doesn't have as much of a muted pencil dull kind of a look. Just anything to help the colors stand out a little. Okay. A couple layers. It'll dull down, dry a little. Try not to rush your hand on it or something till it's done. I brought the brighter red one, which is the pale Geranium Lake, to touch up on his eyes. And this is a really great one to like weave in a little to some of the rose spots if you want it to be a little more vibrant. This is from my 60 artist pen set. Now, these are very expensive. I'm going to admit they're not expensive to buy the whole set. It might be like $130. You can buy individual colors, and if you want to buy individual colors, I recommend a black, a good earth brown, good solid middle green, and at least one bright red. Those are the ones I probably use the most to touch things up that add pops of color. Orange is great. Yellow is great for like these kind of leaves. You can slowly add one new one a month to your collection on payday or something like that. That's just how I accumulated mine over time. I got all the colors in the 60 set. I do watch the prices on this. Sometimes they go on sale. It is highly worth it. They don't bleed through. You can use them directly on paper and never bleed through. You don't color big areas. I wouldn't color a whole leaf with it. I wouldn't do anything big because it can get streaky, but it's great for tight little areas and going on top of things to brighten things up. So I don't do all because I want some to stand out more than others. I'm going to touch up a little hair in the eyes, between the eyelashes. You can add a little to the lips. Carefully, if you want it to be a little more vibrant. The bottom lip only, so it'll be a nice contrast to the top lip. These are just final touches, and yes, we still have a few things on our sweater to do, which we're going to do right now. I like to hit my finger with it to mat it a little bit. Okay, so and I had to touch up her. I did fix the sweater issue. I actually got a little, darn it, some brown crumbs on there and smeared it. So let's do these corner leaves. For the corner leaves, I want to do, well, let's do the big leaf first. The big leaf, I want to do peacock green, apple green, and deco yellow. So let's start with the peacock green. I'm going to go real light and gentle. And I'm actually going to do inside each little section all the way up. Okay, let's do the apple green. We're going to weave it into that. We're going to work our way out toward the edge where we'll put in the lighter color. We're going to blend over this gently. Pencil takes a long time. We used a whole lot of colors in this fall palette. I generally don't spend quite this long on my Deborah pictures, but I really want to do some nice pieces for you guys and teach you some skills and let you get some in that you're proud of. And show you what's possible. We're going to do this side now. Okay, let's put in this chartreuse. Deco yellow. Deco yellow. My bad. That's going to be pretty. Okay, let's use the Prismacolor blender. It will pull a little green into that deco yellow. I am trying to start there, but don't be surprised if some green overlaps. It'll turn kind of a lime color. And that's fine. Work your way to the middle part. Camera's going to shake because I'm using full on arm movements here. All right, it's different. It's more like a gradient effect. You can take the lemon yellow, weave a little bit over the green, but mostly we have like a leaf that has like green in the center, you know, and then it gets kind of yellow on the edges. That's what I was going for. Just a different look. There's a little red there, darn. I'm just going back over the blender with this yellow, and I'm really kind of burnishing thing in over that after now that I flattened out that green. Okay. Okay. Let's do, so for the corner leaves, I think we need some other, oh gosh, I'm not sure at this point. I've used all the colors. I want to do some grass green with a little bit of peacock green, because if you look at our color palette, we don't have a ton of that dark green in there. So I want to get just a little bit more in there. Let's get in here this peacock green. And this one I'm just going to kind of weave it in different areas. This one has like a hint of blue in it. Okay, then let's put over that some of that grass green and just kind of put it right on in here. I haven't really used this grass green. Sorry, I'm all out of color cards. I'm putting the grass green right over and into that peacock. Mine needs a good sharpen. You can weave in a little more peacock if you need a little more darker in some areas. I'm going to take a lighter green and blend that out. I'm going to take the apple green since it's lighter. And I'm just going to blend that right on in. You can use a dark yellow, a green. I don't want to use the blender. I just want a nice, rich, standard green with some light gradient in it. At this point, I think I'm out of every single fall color I've used here. All right. That looks nice. Now let's take that peacock green and go up here. It's going to do in some areas, not all. Let's go up into the grass green. And let's get in the apple green. So that brighter yellowish green, which is in the apple green, will kind of pop out a little bit. Still have to do the little things on our sweater, all these details, and then we will be done with this masterpiece. It's beautiful, my beautiful Autumn Woods princess. Love my autumn colors. This has been really fun. Time consuming, but fun. I tend to be a longer, slow detail color and teach a lot as I go. It looks gorgeous. It's a nice blend. That one shows a little more yellow through than this one does. I could potentially tap in a little bit of yellow here. All right. So lastly, I want to put some touches of red right here on her sweater. I had decided. So for that one, I wanted to do we're gonna do the magenta. We're gonna start with magenta. I'm going to color the outside part of these little bulby things here, or the flower petals, not the middle. We need a little pop of red right somewhere on her outfit to kind of go with the roses and the background. There is a train going by. Okay, then let's weave in some of that poppy red because it's a nice orangey red. And we'll kind of blend over and right on into the middle. So this is really just a 2-color flower. And it'll look a little darker on the outside, or toward the edges from that other color. You can use a hard pressure, blending everything in. Okay. I'm going to take the magenta All right, and I just have a little pomegranate here. I'm just gonna put a little bit into these edges. So it's a little more bold than the center. Pomegranate's a little richer than the first color we had, the magenta was. You use an awful lot of pencils, plus the few of these ones I can't even add on here on this 2-page swatch. I'll have to type these last ones when I go back and look at the video into the body of the video for the little flower. I make a corner, you know, whatever, the green leaves. Woo! And we have fingernails. We need a dark red, and I'm going to straight up use my magenta Pit Artist pen because it's going to be more bold. Pop out more on her nails. I like pens, but these pens are great for makeup. There's only 4 nails, so I use this to touch up a few things, a few spots. So if you see anything you need a little touch up, I need to put in some brown here. I messed up right there on her hair. I want to show you something here. I put a little dark in the center of each flower with my magenta. And her sweater. Then I'm going to take, I have 2 oranges here. I have orange glaze. I have scarlet red. You can use also a Tombow dual brush pen, any kind of water-based pen. And I have a Pit Artist pen, cadmium yellow. And these are great to do touch-ups on leaves to make them pop a little more. So if I'm going to take a little of that scarlet red, just see here. Look, I'll put in a little over this pencil. A few areas. Just to make it look a little more vibrant. I'm going to do then this other orange. I use this for a lot of my leaves. It's a nice little trick I do. I'm going to then touch on some yellow too. All right. There. Or like if you were to touch in just the yellow, see how much more vibrant it can get? I like to touch in a little oranges as well. I'm going to do just the medium orange on this one. Put it in here and there. Put that yellow back over it. So once you blend out with the Prismacolor, sometimes it can look a little more dull. This just helps it to brighten right up. Especially over the blender, which is kind of scratchy and dry. Okay, that's good. Like, I don't think I need any yellow touch up here, but you can put a little more yellow in here. Put a little more yellow in here. Real easy. Like, I could take my brown Pit Artist pen and touch up the brown spots. This one's almost out of ink though. But yeah, if you want to make these brown spots more vibrant, this is what I was saying. I get a nice medium brown. This is raw umber. I use it for a lot of nature type things. Stripes on trees, witch's broom, like the broom part, the bristles part for like striping things in. Do use it quite a bit. And I wanted to get a pink pen, and I wanted to touch up just a little bit her cheeks so they're a little more pink. I will do that off camera and see if I can enter that on the final picture, which I'll insert into the beginning when I post the video. And I just have to grab the brown because I didn't fully... I actually put red in here where her hair is. It's supposed to have been brown right there. That was my bad. And put a little here between that skin. I don't see anymore. Just look around if there's anywhere that should have been hair instead of that red. This is actually the top of her head, I think, up here. Yeah, so I'll just look it over, see if I need to touch up anything else. I might put in a little more, like I can take in some of this yellow, put it over some of these green leaves right here. That looked a little dull. All right, just top it a little here. And I just touch it to press it in. See these little bit of yellow? Gives it a little more vibrancy and goes over that dull greenness from the pencil. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something and really like my Autumn Fall Princess. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go post the video and we're going to move on now to the Witch's Cottage.